raising sheep, we're raising cows, turkeys, chickens. Okay. You've got a lot of animals on the farm. You know what animals are eating? What is that? Pigs do like vegetables, but not all the animals. Well, sheep do too.
Chicken, corn.
We'll just stop there, all right?
Chicken.
You walk by or you go by a lot of fields, you see a lot of corn growing out in the fields, right? Everybody nod. All right, so farmers are raising corn. And this is not something that they're going to sell. They're going to have to raise corn so that they can feed it to their animals. All the animals like corn. Pigs, sheep, cows, horses, if they can get it, will like corn. We don't give it to them. It's kind of not so much for them. Yes. Yes. But it's not sweet corn. This is field corn. It's something that you're going to be raising primarily for feed. Okay. If you were back in the 1880s, almost every one of you would say, I live on a farm, and this would be how it goes. All right, so we have to raise corn so we've got feed for all our animals. All right? That's one thing. Here's one way we go about doing that. All right, here we have a team of horses pulling our plow, turning the ground over, breaking it up so that we can plant. The horses on our farm are our tractors. And you boys, if you were on a farm in the 1880s, you would be learning you would probably already know how to drive the horses. All right? How many of you are driving cars yet? Really?
Yeah, I know the little kids
A golf cart, okay. But if you were kids on the farm, you'd be driving horses. You'd be driving the tractors. And that'd be part of your job. How many of you think that'd be fun? How many of you think mowing the lawn is fun?
They still do it.
They still do it, okay. How many of you think cleaning your room is fun? Few less. All right. This is just one of the jobs that kids would have had on the farm back then. You'd have been expected, at this age, you're big enough to go out and help with the chores on the farm. And the boys would be out doing the field work primarily. And we'd be raising all kinds of things, not just corn. We would raise, well, corn, wheat, oats, pumpkins, which are largely a feed crop for the animals. You'd also be raising some potatoes and some other things. In this area, we'd be raising something called broom corn. And this is what your brooms are made out of. And until the vacuum cleaner came around, this is how everybody cleaned their house. It's a broom. But this was something that you could raise. It's dry, and you ship this shipped all over the country and all over the world. Because this was how everybody cleaned their houses. So you raised hundreds of thousands of pounds of broom corn here, as well as your wheat and your oats. The wheat, cakes, cookies, breads, you like those things? Yeah. Okay. The wheat was something that you'd have been shipping out, selling. You'd sell it for about $1 a bushel. And that'd be where the farmer got his money. And he'd be able to then go to the store and buy flour, buy the materials he needs, buy the equipment, buy the plow that he needs in order to do his work. So he'd be raising some crops for money, and he'd be raising some animals for money. Pigs grow up fast. Farmers like pigs. Right? They're going to grow up. They have a litter of about 8 to 10 at a time. How many people here like bacon? Sausage, pork chops, pepperoni, barbecue ribs. All right. All that stuff comes from pigs. Okay. So they're going to eat the corn, and those little piglets that start out about this big in about 6 months, they weigh about 250 pounds. They grow up fast. But that's where you get your meat. And they're going to then take those pigs, they'll drive them to market and sell them, and that's where the farmers are also going to get their money. So they raise the corn, but they use it for feed. Yes.
My cousin raised a pig.
Okay. Very good. Did he eat them?
She did want for hair.
Okay.
Sold it at the end.
Yeah.
Mrs. Toma raised a pig. Did you know that? I was in 4-H.
Was it fun wrestling for her?
If you got questions, I'll be happy to answer them as we go along. But if you're just relaying information, then you have a question? Okay. Yes. That is not me in the picture. That's one of our other farmers that we had around there. Pete. In fact, one of the horses in front of it was also named Pete. It's fine. I don't know. It's hard to tell from the scent. I do better if I see the horse's face. They all look different to me just because I've been around them. So, you boys, you'd have to be able to harness a horse, grease a wagon, drive a team. Some other things you'd want to be able to do is plow, sow grain, plant the grain, grass, harvest it, be able to stack up a haystack. If the horses, sheep, cows, they all eat hay, which is just dried grass. So you'd be out there working on the farm. I asked about mowing the yard. Making hay is about like mowing the yard, except you wait till the grass gets real tall, you cut it, you let it dry, and you gather that up, and that's going to be some food for the animals for the winter. So the boys are going to be responsible for taking care of all those chores out there. And depending on the time of the season and what we've got to do, the girls would be out there helping too. There are certain times of the year where everybody needs to work. And sometimes everybody needs to work in the fields, and sometimes everybody needs to work in the garden. All right, so it kind of breaks up. Men take care of certain aspects, women take care of certain other aspects, but everybody's working together to get the same job done. Because they're trying to provide for themselves. They're trying to provide the income and things for the family. You boys would also need to learn how to milk a cow. Anyone here ever milked a cow before? Good. Was it fun?
Oh, yeah. I scored it.
You scored it on your brother. That's very common. Would you like to do it every time you wanted a bowl of cereal?
Yeah.
Yes?
I
Okay.
think you'd get tired.
I don't get that reaction much. It takes me a while. Another job you need to do is learn how to shear sheep. Okay.
That's what
So,
I think we have some future farmers here.
I think we got so they had some new shears that were coming out, but your old-fashioned shears are right here. It's just a big pair of scissors, and you just go along the outside of the sheep and cut off the wool. That's sad. Do you wear a winter coat in the middle of summer? Okay. Do you think the sheep would like to wear a winter coat in the middle of summer? No. All right. All right. So there's a sheepskin. Now this one we didn't shear. Okay. There's the skin on the backside. That's where leather comes from. We ate this one. They're not pets. I take good care of my sheep on the farm. As a farmer, you have to take good care of your animals. You have to take good care of your horses, your cows, your sheep, your pigs, so that they're going to grow up big and strong. I help deliver them when they're babies, take care of them when they're sick. I clean up after them. And the animals, just like I said, everybody works together. The animals take care of me. They feed me. They give me food to eat. They would have given you food to eat. That's where all your food comes from. They give me clothing. The wool from these sheep can be used to make wool pants. right? I'm not cold when I go outside. I got a nice pair of wool pants on today. They're gonna keep me warm. I think the wind would go right through those. I got a nice pair of wool pants. Wool's naturally wicking. They wore wool all year round. Certain types of wool, if you make it thick, lightweight shirt, it's gonna wick out. How many of you have like sports shirts? All right? It's supposed to wick the sweat away, right? Yeah. Wool does that naturally. The thing is, many people don't make wool shirts thin enough for it to do that real well. And it'd be really expensive. Because you gotta shear the sheep. You gotta turn the wool into yarn, twine, string. And then you'd have to make that into fabric. So it'd be a very expensive process today. But you didn't have all the synthetic fibers today, or back then, that you have today. They'd get their clothes from wool. They'd also get them worn out. All right. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about transportation. How do we get around? Horses. Yeah, everybody had their own horse. Everybody sat up on the back and ran. No. All right. You got wagons. All right. Every vehicle that's around outside today, it started out as a horse type of item. If somebody's riding a horse, that's kind of like a motorcycle. Right? It is. It'll hold one or two people and a little bit of stuff. All right? You get a wagon. All right. You get a wagon, that'd be like a normal car. Right here, this is kind of like a sports car from the time period. It is. It's a two-seat convertible. It's got a nice big engine out front here. All right, and that's going to make things go. That's how you get around. And the wintertime, get myself together here. You got one of these. All right. They didn't plow the roads back then. And when winter came, they rolled the snow and packed it down. They'd put spikes in a horseshoe. There's one of our horseshoes. And the horses would have traction in the snow. But you'd run in a sleigh like this to get from place to place. This would be kind of like a snowmobile today. All right. How many people think this would be fun? All right, let me ask another question. How many people drive around in their car in the middle of winter with their windows down?
With your windows down.
Down.
Yes.
All the way down.
Yes.
Top down?
I'm gonna ask your parents
I'm
because
gonna
I
ask
don't
your
believe you.
All right. This is fun, at least in my mind, this is fun for about 15 minutes. Once you get cold back there, it's just cold. But this was how you went places. Now this guy here, he had a little bit of money. And the reason I can say that is, first of all, he's hired a driver. And the driver's sitting up front. And you got a nice high front on this sleigh. And he's sitting in the back behind that high front. That high front will block the wind. And that's the big problem. And then he's all bundled up in the back between furs and blankets and other things so that he can stay warm back there. But you had horses for everything. What is it?
Wagon.
Well, it's a certain type of wagon.
It's a fire.
It's a fire truck, yep. So everything that you have today started out with horses pulling. Early buses started out as trolleys. And they'd have a wagon on a track, and the horses would pull them along the track. Eventually, you had this thing come along, though. The iron horse, as it was called originally. It's a train. And this helped transport all your things. As a farmer, you were thrilled to death with this. When trains came around, you could buy things from cities far away, and they'd be shipped in on the train. Your crops that you raise, the wheat, the broom corn, they could be shipped off to other cities. And so you'd get more money, or you'd get your money for your crop. Right? So the train allowed you to sell your goods further away. That gave you money, and you could then buy goods that would be shipped from further away too. Yeah. Well, there are. Does everybody only have one car? So there were multiple trains. It wasn't that like there was only one train. In fact, there were lots of different trains right at the very beginning. Lots of different styles of track until everything got settled upon. Yes, sir.
They actually call horses
No, there were different breeds of horses. You ready? There were different breeds of horses. Everybody kind of had their favorite, just like everybody's got their favorite type of vehicle today. So we're going to trade and send you over to Miss Dot.